Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Wednesday, May 5th. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. A suspected more contagious variant of COVID-19 that's hitting India with deadly consequences has now been found in San Diego. KPBS health reporter Matt Hoffman says officials are trying to determine if the vaccines are effective against the variant.
It is a rush to stomp them out before they evolve too far.
UC San Diego Chief of Infectious Diseases Dr. Davey Smith says it's natural for viruses like COVID-19 to mutate.
To try to figure out any way that they can to keep living within us and to spread amongst us.
So the fact that new variants are popping up isn't necessarily surprising. San Diego County health officials have now found a case of the B1617 or the India variant, suspected to be more contagious as a deadly wave of infections hits the Asian country.
Now, is it more deadly? It could also be more deadly. Viruses don't, in general, want to kill their hosts.
It will take time to figure out if it's in fact more deadly, as federal officials are investigating the new strain.
We are collecting data right now in real time, and hopefully within the next several days to a week, we'll be able to make a determination as to what the effect of antibodies induced by our vaccines are against that particular variant.
At least 7 variants have been found in San Diego. Smith says until we reach herd immunity with vaccinations, which officials say is about 75% of the population, the virus will keep mutating.
Every time that it is in somebody new, it adapts to its new home. And when it adapts to its new home, that means it's making these changes. And these are genetic changes because the virus is evolving to us.
So if people are thinking they're healthy and don't need to be vaccinated, Smith says one reason to get the shot is to potentially stop an even deadlier, more contagious version of the virus from appearing.
That virus in that young person then starts to evolve to that young person and then is going to spread to another person who might not be young and healthy.
Smith says there is great news, though.
The vaccine is still working for these variants.
The UK variant has become the dominant coronavirus strain in the United States. Health officials say the one case of the Indian variant here is from a woman in her 20s who traveled to the country before being hospitalized here last month. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
And a reminder, we are tracking the county's COVID-19 vaccinations online. If you want to set up your appointment for yourself or an eligible family member, you can find a location close to you by going to kpbs.org. Just click on the vaccines link that you can find on our homepage. A mother and son separated at the border by former President Trump's zero-tolerance policy more than 3 years ago are back together again. An advocacy group called Families Belong Together captured their emotional reunion at the San Ysidro port of entry. Brian Chavez was 15 years old when he was separated from his mother, Sandra Ortiz, in 2017. They are the first of 4 families the Biden administration says will be reunited this week. More than 1,000 families remain separated. San Diego will become the first border county in the nation to provide free legal representation to immigration detainees. KPBS racial justice and equity reporter Christina Kim has more on a historic vote by the County Board of Supervisors.
According to the American Immigration Council, less than 17% of people detained in San Diego and facing deportation have access to legal counsel. In a 3-2 vote on Tuesday, supervisors took a step towards changing that reality. They approved the Immigrant Rights Legal Defense Program, a 1-year pilot program that will provide free legal counsel to detained individuals facing deportation or removal hearings. Supervisors Joel Anderson and Jim Desmond voted against the initiative. Desmond says this isn't a local issue.
I really wish we had unlimited funds for everyone's representation in civil matters. And to me, this is a federal issue. And unfortunately, not the financial responsibility of a local county government.
The majority of the over 120 people who called into the board's public comment session were in support of the program. Maria Flores from ACE urged the board in Spanish through a translator to pass the initiative. She says she paid a lot of money for an attorney that didn't even show up in court.
Other than having to deal with the economic repercussions of the situation, we lost a family member that was deported, and that created an extremely sad situation. So from the bottom of my heart and with my whole heart, I ask that you support this for our families.
The pilot program will cost $5 million out of the board's more than $6 billion budget. The county will work to bring the board a plan for making this program permanent in the next 90 days. Christina Kim, KPBS News.
The Biden administration has changed course, announcing it would allow over 62,000 refugees to enter the U.S. over the next 6 months. KPBS reporter Max Rivlin-Nadler tells us that will be a tough target to hit following years of limited refugee numbers under the Trump administration.
On Monday, the Biden administration walked back an earlier pledge to keep a Trump-era limit of 15,000 refugees in place, setting a new cap of 62,500. San Diego has been a popular destination for refugees, welcoming around 4,000 during the last year of the Obama administration in 2016. But the area has only received 341 so far this fiscal year. Michael Hopkins is the CEO of Jewish Family Service, one of 4 agencies that work with refugees locally.
And most believe that we won't even hit 62.5 in the remainder of this fiscal year. So it probably means a couple thousand for San Diego at some point.
The refugee system is wholly separate from the asylum system, meaning this cap wouldn't apply to the thousands of asylum seekers at the southern border. Instead, refugees have been living in camps outside of their home countries, many often spending years there. Hopkins says his organization has been gearing up for this moment.
We have already begun the process in terms of hiring staff, collecting furniture, et cetera, because we know that when new families arrive, they need to have a home set up for them.
Refugees have a clear path to citizenship in the U.S., something organizations like Jewish Family Service will begin to prepare them for. Hopkins says the biggest challenge for his organization will be working with a program that's been in disarray for the past several years.
The program itself has really been dismantled over the years. And so just for the government to all of the screening, all of the work that's done to make sure that the folks that are vetted properly, it takes a while.
Jewish Family Service is looking for volunteers to help with these incoming refugees. Anyone interested can go to jfssd.org/volunteer. Max Rivlin-Nadler, KPBS News.
The San Diego City Council today began a detailed review of Mayor Todd Gloria's proposed budget. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says the long-term budget picture isn't good.
Federal COVID-19 relief dollars are sparing San Diego from draconian budget cuts this year, but the city's independent budget analyst told council members Wednesday there's still a long-term deficit problem. Services like police, parks, libraries, and trash pickup simply cost more than what the city takes in from taxes and fees. Councilmember Sean Elo Rivera says the city should be honest about that.
The budget situation that we're in, we will not get out of without acknowledging that we simply need more resources to provide the city and its residents what they want and deserve.
Fixing that long-term deficit won't be easy, since raising taxes or fees almost always requires voter approval. As the council was meeting today, activists held a press conference outside City Hall, calling for cuts to the police budget and increases to a host of other priorities, among them infrastructure to adapt to climate change.
While the police budget perpetually increases, environmental investments that would help us survive the coming crisis are far down on the list of priorities. We don't have enough money for more parks, but there is enough money to police the parks.
The council is scheduled to review the budget for every city department over the next week. Mayor Gloria will present his revised budget proposal on May 18th. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
A ban on residential evictions in San Diego County will continue at least for the next few months. The Board of Supervisors voted 3-2 in favor of the ordinance, which also enacts a moratorium on certain rent increases. It will expire 60 days after the state lifts all COVID-related stay-at-home orders. That is set to happen June 15th. The county's moratorium closes loopholes allowed by the state ban, including one that allows landlords to evict tenants in order to rehabilitate a property. Some of San Diego's most iconic buildings will be lit in red this evening. The light is meant to raise awareness of a crisis in Native American communities across the country. This is Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women Awareness Day. Members of local tribal nations are gathered at the County Administration Building. And that is also where we find KPBS reporter John Carroll. And John, I understand there is a special memorial there. John?
Maya, the commemoration got underway just a few moments ago here at the County Admin Building. Chair of the Board of Supervisors, Nathan Fletcher, is talking right now. And in just a few moments from now, they're going to raise that red flag you see there in honor of missing and murdered Native women. Later tonight, the County Admin Building, along with the Convention Center and the Botanical Building in Balboa Park, will all be lit in red. Red symbolizing both the spirit of Native American people and, in this case, the blood of murdered Native women. The Department of Justice says Native women face murder rates that are 10 times the national average. Keely Linton is the executive director of the Strong-Hearted Native Women's Coalition. She says justice can be hard to come by, and a big reason for that centers around jurisdiction.
We have to work around 3 different jurisdictions: the tribal jurisdiction, the state jurisdiction, and the federal jurisdiction. So when we're looking at prosecuting cases or seeking assistance for victims, it's kind of maneuvering through those systems.
Linton says progress is being made. Specifically, she says tribes are improving their local judicial systems, trying to get around some of those jurisdictional issues, but she also says there's a lot of work still to be done. Live at the County Admin Building along the Embarcadero, John Carroll, KPBS News.
After years of controversy, San Diego State University could soon begin the process of changing its mascot. The Daily Aztec reports that the SDSU Senate passed a resolution calling for the creation of a commission chaired by the university tribal liaison. The commission will work with tribal leaders to propose at least 2 Kumeyaay-named animals to be the new official mascot. In a statement, SDSU clarified that the Aztec name will not be replaced, only the warrior imagery associated with it. Dog owners, for the most part, think their pets are friendly in public. So what's the harm in unclipping their leash for a few minutes to play fetch at the neighborhood park? Well, a lot of harm can come of it, as I found out. A couple in Poway is still grieving and healing tonight after a dog attack over the weekend ended in tragedy. A warning, some images may be graphic for some viewers.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Cheekies. Happy birthday to you.
6-year-old miniature schnauzer Cheekies won't be getting any more birthday songs or treats. Her life ended last week after a vicious attack by an unleashed dog. But she wasn't the only victim.
A bite here, and then some puncture wounds here, and a little puncture wound there.
Cheeky's owners, Cynthia and Ricardo Elizondo, are back at Garden Road Park in Poway for the first time since the incident.
I believe we might actually find blood trails. My understanding is they tried to clean it up after the incident, but were not successful in getting it all. So we may see some.
There's a long stretch of grass to the side of the park that is commonly used as a dog run for unleashed dogs to play fetch.
So you were actually on this path?
We were on the path.
Oh, actually I think that's my glove. Yeah. Yeah, and that's blood right there.
So this is the glove that you were wearing that morning?
That is correct.
A bloody glove, all that remains of the deadly encounter that seemed so innocent at first.
I was not scared at all. I thought he was just coming to say hello. He was clearly friendly dog playing ball with his owner.
But instincts kicked in, and the dog who had been playing happily just seconds before had locked his sights on Cheeky's and his jaws into her back.
And would not let go, would not let go. At that point, his owner came running over. We started kicking the dog. The owner actually said, kick him, do it, go for it. And he got on the ground and immediately got his hands into his own dog's mouth to pry open the jaws.
It took 3 adults more than 30 seconds to separate the dogs, at which point the attack continued. the owner, clearly shocked by his dog's behavior.
During the incident, he kept saying, he's never done this before. He's never done this before. This is not like him.
Once Cynthia got Cheekies into her arms, they spun in circles trying to avoid another bite. This time, Cynthia's arm got in the way, and she felt the dog's teeth in her flesh.
At that moment, I thought we just need protection. And so we actually, Cynthia and I, took the dog to the children's structure there, because I said, there's a fort. I need a fort.
So you climbed up here?
Yeah, so climbed from the other side, just took my family, right? So I was carrying the dog over here just to keep, because I knew that I only had to protect one entrance at this point.
Once police and EMTs arrived, Cheekies and Cynthia were both rushed to respective emergency rooms. Cynthia needed sutures and staples to close her deep wound.
There's a bite out of my arm.
So there was kind of an 1.5 to 2 inch diameter, separating, with no skin and looking in.
All the way almost to the bone.
Cheeky suffered broken ribs and organ damage and had to be euthanized while Cynthia was still in the ER. She did not get to say goodbye.
No.
There's inherently more safety for everybody in the park if animals are leashed. They can't reach other animals. They can't reach other owners.
Captain Danny Cook from the San Diego Humane Society says the dog that attacked is under a 10-day bite quarantine per California Health and Safety Code. Not punitively, but to rule out rabies. She says officers regularly get owners explaining why their dogs are off leash, despite the leash law.
My dog is under voice control, or my dog comes exactly when I tell them to, or my dog is the sweetest dog and would never harm another dog or person. Whether that is in fact true or not, it's not just for their safety and their dog's safety, it is for the safety of the other owners and dogs in the park.
Friendly dogs are still weapons. That is the point. Yeah, it can go from licking your toddler's face to causing a big gash on a stranger's arm. And, because they are dogs. That is not a vicious dog. It's just a dog.
Back at the Elizondo's home, Cheeky's crate, her dog door, and toys in the yard are painful reminders of what they all endured. They say they've forgiven the other dog owner and want to make clear that he's been equally traumatized watching his beloved pet turn deadly.
If even one person decides that they will no longer take their friendly, sweet, loving dog off leash at the park or anywhere other than the dog park, I will be happy.
KPBS invited the other dog owner to participate, but he respectfully declined. If you wish to report an incident, you can reach San Diego Humane Society Law Enforcement Dispatch at 619-299-7012. A Republican hoping to unseat Governor Gavin Newsom in a recall election is facing backlash for using a live bear as a political prop. John Cox, a businessman from Rancho Santa Fe, started a statewide campaign tour yesterday with a Kodiak bear sitting behind him at his press conference. Local Democratic State Senator Ben Hueso called it a shameful, distasteful trick to garner attention. Hueso also said it violated the spirit of the Circus Cruelty Prevention Act, which he authored. Today, Cox was back on the campaign trail, but without the bear. Ocean Beach Pier is expected to reopen for the first time since January, at least partially. City engineers say a portion of the pier can safely reopen after railing and other parts damaged by storms are fixed. No specific date has yet been set, but engineers believe it could open this summer. A city inspection in 2019 found the 55-year-old pier has reached the end of its service life. A long-term solution is still under consideration.
We have the heat staying with us here over the next couple of days, but it does look like we'll get a cool down here towards the end of the week, potentially heading into the weekend. So this dominant area of high pressure means dry conditions, but we'll start to see the winds pick up out ahead of the next cold front by the end of the week. For the metro tonight, temperatures dropping off into the low 60s. We have some low clouds and some fog, but again, no real rain for you here in the forecast. Temperatures near the coast getting down into the low 60s and upper 50s. degrees, so a little bit milder out there than where we have been over the last couple of nights. Getting down to 61 degrees in San Diego, Ramona, upper 40s for you. Escondido getting down to 54 degrees, but we do stay pretty mild up in the higher terrain. Again, 60s out in Borrego Springs. Looking ahead to Thursday, here we go. That main area of warmth continues to push further inland, and we get some cooler conditions again near the coast because we do have that onshore flow, which means cooler conditions for some of you. Temperatures getting up to 70 degrees on your Thursday in Oceanside, upper 60s in San Diego. Still pretty mild here in some of the valley locations, getting into the mid to upper 70s, and then the heat continues up in some of the higher terrain with Borrego Springs near 100 degrees for yet another day today. Then Friday, I mentioned there's going to be a cold front that's going to be pushing southward, and out ahead of that, the onshore flow will increase, and so that means some of you could be a little bit cooler here. Near the coast, you'll notice temperatures are going to drop into the upper 60s as we head into your Saturday and Sunday, but not a whole lot of change here aside from that. Further inland, temperatures falling from the mid to upper 70s down into the low to mid 70s towards the end of the weekend and into the start of the new work week. In the mountains, we go from the mid 60s on your Thursday down into the low 60s and perhaps even into the upper 50s by the time we start off the next work week. In the desert, you just stay nice and toasty, but not quite as warm as we look ahead to Sunday and Monday when we drop things back down into the low 90s. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Jessica Pash.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, Madam Speaker Nancy Pelosi on the obstacles to the president's ambitious agenda. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Female recruits went through Marine boot camp in San Diego for the first time this spring. As they are set to graduate, these new Marines and their instructors say the time has come for them to keep training on the West Coast. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh has the story.
Though isolated, the first group of female recruits to train in San Diego understood people were watching. Some were cheering them on, while others were more negative, like Fox News host Tucker Carlson, who called efforts to accommodate female troops a mockery of the U.S. military. Senior drill instructor Amber Starasic.
They're not oblivious to what happens on social media, sir. They know what's being said, and I think it became more of a challenge to them to push them to be harder.
The cameras often followed the women as they ran, swam, climbed obstacles, and crawled through the California dirt. The low point came midway through the 13 weeks, says drill instructor Stephanie Fall.
The initial drill, they were very, very nervous, and they messed up a lot, and we actually tied for last.
Drill, synchronized marching. The women came in behind the 5 male platoons. The males are loud as they move their weapons in unison from shoulder to shoulder. Fall says women are meticulous, better attention to detail, but they weren't confident. Then came round 2, final drill, says recruit Marianne Parra.
I think we all woke up and said, why do we put ourselves down? Everyone else is breaking us down. We're supposed to be the ones building ourselves back up.
At 21, Parra is older than the average recruit. She dropped out of college in her junior year when she ran out of money. She was homeless for a time. Her parents didn't want their honor student daughter to join the Marines.
And then you could tell the moment we hit that parade deck, there was just passion. All of us remembered why we wanted to be a Marine.
They won, beating the 5 other platoons.
And we made our statement, and it felt good. There were a lot of tears when they announced that Platoon 3241 won drill. There were a lot of tears.
There were more tears to come. Unlike the Marines' traditional training site for women in the flat, swampy Parris Island, South Carolina, West Coast Boot Camp culminates with scaling the Reaper, a summit that looms over training at Camp Pendleton.
And you see the Reaper. We could see it even at the chow hall. And us girls, even I've overheard male recruits, you see it and you just kind of tremble.
But they reached the top, where they held the traditional ceremony. Each new Marine received an Eagle Globe and Anchor pin, the symbol of the Marine Corps. Parra, muddy and sleep-deprived, held it in her palm.
It meant so much more than I thought it was going to mean.
Graduates of West Coast Boot Camp are dubbed Hollywood Marines. And these women are the first female Hollywood Marines in the 100-year history of San Diego boot camp.
Looking down at this, I didn't think I was strong enough to be here. Every single day I was scared to be here. I was scared waking up today thinking I wasn't going to finish. This shows to everyone that I actually can. Shows to myself that I'm bigger than I am.
The Marines are the last service to fully integrate women into boot camp. They are under a congressional mandate to open boot camp in San Diego to women, but the deadline is 2028. For now, another cycle of women isn't scheduled for San Diego. Senior drill instructor Starosik doesn't want it to end.
Right now, there's so much forward progress. There's so much momentum. Like, we're on a high right now. And I think that right now, the perfect thing for this high would be to continue pushing forward.
For now, Starosik expects to rotate out to another assignment.
They can do everything that is done out here. They proved that. And the foundation has been set that shows, and it's been documented now pretty thoroughly, that yes, they can, and actually they can do it really well.
Though unless something changes, these 53 women are the first, and at least for a while, the last female Hollywood Marines. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
Hey, let's go. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.